Hello from Missouri School for the Blind. My name is Jeff Barney and I'm the superintendent. I would like to thank you for taking some time to spend with our students and enjoy the program they have created. We wish you could be here in person to experience all the upgrades we have completed on campus, to share the wonderful experience together, and because our students really do enjoy sharing their talents with people who will help make their experiences here so valuable and enjoyable. I sincerely hope that next year we will be able to return to an in-person program and get back to normal. I thank each one of you for your support for our school, and I know you will enjoy the show. Go Mules!
And from the Fuzz Tone Studios of MSB, we'll start with the Jazz Rock Band. Here's Maddie on piano. Here's Alan on tenor sax. And here's Kiwan on the keyboard. We'll give him 2 solos. Hey guys, good job on that one.
Hey, Mr. Bill, we can play faster and funkier than that.
Okay, then let's do it.
Okay, but let's add vocals to this one. You ready, Maddie?
Yeah, Mr. Mueller.
Here we go.
This is a funky song. Funky song. This is a funky song. Funky song. This is our funky song. Funky song.
Yeah.
This is our funky song. Funky song. We're back and it must be better.
This is our funky song.
1, you know. And then you would try to fit your different notes, what you felt in between that, like, you know, and that's the funk, you know, and you can change that, you know, it's however.
This is our funky song. This is our funky song. You sing.
This is a funky song, funky song. This is a funky song, funky song.
We're back in MSB. This is a funky song.
Cool, guys. Look at. Okay.
Uno, dos, tres, yo. Uno, dos, tres, go. Uno, dos, tres, la. Uno, dos, tres, hey. Bate, bate, chocolate. Bate, bate, chocolate. Bate, bate, chocolate. Bate, bate, chocolate. Uno, dos, tres, yo. Uno, dos, tres, go. Uno, dos, tres, la. Uno, dos, tres, hey. Bate, bate, chocolate. Bate, bate, chocolate. Bate, bate, chocolate. Bate, bate, chocolate. Uno, dos, tres, yo. Uno, dos, tres, go. Uno, dos, tres, la. Uno, dos, tres, hey. Bate, bate, chocolate, bate, bate, chocolate, bate, bate, chocolate, bate, bate, chocolate. Uno, dos, tres, yo. Uno, dos, tres, go. Uno, dos, tres, la. Uno, dos, tres, hey. Bate, bate, chocolate, bate, bate, chocolate, bate, bate, chocolate, bate, bate, chocolate. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, chocolate! Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old time throng. Give my regards to old Broadway, where I'll be there long. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. A real-life nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride a pony, and I'm a Yankee Doodle boy. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue, where the emperor goes so bright. In an old acquaintance speak, oh God, keep your eye on the grand old flag. 525,600 minutes. 525,000 moments so dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights and sunsets and midnights and cups of coffee. In inches, in miles and laughter and strife. In 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about love? How about love? Measuring love. Seasons of love. Seasons of
525,600 minutes. 525,000 journeys to plan. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman or a man?
And truth that she learned, or the time that she cried, the bridges he burned, or the way that she died.
It's time now to sing out, the story never ends. Let's celebrate, remember you in the life of friends. How about love? How about love? How about love? Measuring love. Seasons of love. Seasons of love.
There is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man.
It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity.
It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition.
And it lies between the pit of man's fear and the summit of his knowledge.
This is the dimension of imagination.
It is an area in which we call the Twilight Zone.
Maple Street, USA, late summer. A tree-lined little world of front porch gliders, hopscotch, the laughter of children, and the bell of an ice cream vendor.
At the sound of the roar and the flash of light, it will be precisely 6:43 p.m. on Maple Street.
What was that? A meteor?
That's what it looked like. I didn't hear any crash. So, did you?
Nope, I didn't hear anything except a roar.
Steve, what was that?
Guess it was a meteor, honey. Came awful close, didn't it?
Too close for my money. Much too close.
Maple Street, 6:44 p.m. on a late September evening. Maple Street in the last calm and reflective moments before the monsters came.
The camera slowly pans across the porches again. We see a man screwing a light bulb on a front porch, then getting down off the stool to flip the switch, and finding that nothing happens. Another man is working on an electric-powered mower. He plugs in the plug, flicks on the switch of the power mower, off and on with nothing happening. Through a window of a front porch, we see a woman pushing her finger back and forth on the dial hook.
Operator, something's wrong with the phone. Operator.
Steve, the power's off. I had the soup on the stove, and the stove just stopped working.
Same over here. I can't get anyone on the phone. The phone seems to be dead.
The electricity's off.
The phone won't work.
Can't get a thing on the radio.
My lawnmower won't work.
Radio's gone dead.
The
My lawnmower won't work.
My lawnmower won't work.
Pete Van Horn, a tall, thin man, is seen standing in front of his house.
I'll cut through the backyard to see if the power's still on Floral Street. I'll be right back.
He walks past the side of his house and disappears into the backyard. The hammer on Van Horn's hip makes a rhythmic clank as he walks. The camera pans down slowly until we're looking at 10 or 11 people standing around the street and overflowing to the curb and sidewalk. In the background is Steve Brand's car.
Doesn't make sense. Why should the power go off all of a sudden? And the phone line.
Maybe some sort of electrical storm or something.
That don't seem likely. Sky's just as blue as anything. Not a cloud, no lightning, no thunder, no nothing. How could it be a storm? Well, why don't you go downtown and check with the police? Though they will probably think we are crazy or something. A little power failure, and right away we get all flustered and everything.
It isn't just a power failure, Charlie. If it was, we'd still be able to get a broadcast on the portable. I'll run downtown. We'll get this all straightened out.
He walks over to the car, gets in, and turns the key. Beyond it, we see the crowd watching him from the other side. Steve starts the engine. It turns over sluggishly and then just stops dead. He tries it again, and this time he can't get it to turn over. Then, very slowly and reflectively, he turns the key back to off and then slowly gets out of the car. As they stare at Steve, he stands for a moment by the car, then walks toward the group.
I don't understand it. It was working fine before.
Out of gas.
I just had it filled up.
What's it mean?
It is just as if everything had stopped. We'd better walk downtown.
The two of us can go, Charlie. It couldn't be the meteor. A meteor couldn't do this.
Mr. Brand, you better not.
Why not?
They don't want you to.
Who doesn't want us to?
Them.
Them?
Who are them?
Whoever was in that thing that came by overhead.
What?
Whoever was in that thing that came over. I don't think they want us to leave here.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
They don't want us to leave. That's why they shut everything off.
What makes you say that? Whatever gave you that idea?
It's always that way. In every story, we've read about a spaceship landing from outer space.
From outer space? Sally, you better get that boy up to bed. He's been reading too many comic books. Or see too many movies.
Tommy, come over here and stop that kind of talk.
Go ahead, Tommy. We'll be right back. And you'll see that wasn't a ship or anything like it. That was just a meteor or something. Likely as not. No doubt it did have something to do with all this power failure and the rest of it. Meteors can do some crazy things, like sunspots.
Sure, that's the kind of thing, like sunspots. The rays came with radio perception all around the world. And this thing being so close, why, there's no telling the sort of stuff that it can do.
Don tells Steve and Charlie to walk downtown to find out what is causing all the confusion.
Steve and Charlie again walk away from the group down the sidewalk. The people watch silently. Tommy stares at them, biting his lips, and finally calling out again.
Mr. Brand! Mr. Brand, please don't leave here. You might not be able to get out of town. It was that way in the story. Nobody could leave. Nobody except
who?
Except the people they sent down ahead of them. They look like just like humans. Just like humans. And it wasn't until the ship landed that...
Tommy, please, son.
That kid shouldn't talk that way, and we shouldn't stand here listening to him. Why, this is the craziest thing I ever heard of. The kids tell us a comic book plot, and here we stand listening.
Go ahead, Tommy. What kind of story was this? What about the people that they sent out ahead?
That was the way they prepared things for the landing. They sent 4 people, a mother and a father, and 2 kids who looked just like humans, but they weren't.
Well, I guess what we better do is to run a check on the neighborhood to see which one of us is really human.
There must be something better to do than just stand around and make bum jokes about it. I wonder if Floral Street's got the same deal we got. Where is Pete Van Horn anyway? Didn't he get back yet?
Suddenly, there is a sound of a car's engine starting to turn over. We look across the street toward the driveway of Les Goodman's house. He's at the wheel trying to start the car.
Can you get it started, Les?
He walks toward the group. He stops suddenly as behind him, inexplicably and with a noise that inserts itself into the silence, the car engine starts up all by itself. Goodman whirls around to stare toward it. The car idles roughly, smoke coming from the exhaust, the frame shaking gently. Goodman's eyes go wide, and he runs over to his car. The people stare at the car.
He got the car started somehow. He got his car started.
How come his car just up and started like that?
All by itself. He wasn't anywhere near it. It started all by itself.
And he never did come out and look at the thing that flew overhead. He wasn't even interested. Why? Why didn't he come out with like the rest of us to look?
He always was an oddball. Him and his whole family. Real oddball.
What do you say we ask him?
The group suddenly starts towards the house. In this brief fraction of a moment, they take the first step toward performing a metamorphosis that changes people from a group into a mob. They begin to head purposefully across the street toward the house at the end. Steve stands in front of them. For a moment, their fear almost turns their walk into a wild stampede. But Steve's voice, loud, incisive, and commanding, makes them stop.
Wait a minute. Let's not be a mob.
I just don't understand it. I tried to start it, but it wouldn't start. You saw me. All you saw me.
And now, just as suddenly as the engine started, it stops. And there's a long silence that is gradually intruded upon by the frightened murmuring of the people.
I don't understand. I swear I don't understand what's happening.
Maybe you better tell us. Nothing's working on the street. Nothing. No lights, no power, no radio. Nothing except one car, yours.
That's weird.
Why did his car start?
What the hell?
Started on its own.
Wait a minute now. You keep your distance, all of you. So I got a car that starts by itself. That's a frank thing. I admit it. Does that make me some type of criminal or something? I don't know why the car works. It just does.
We're all on a monster kick, Les. Seems that the general impression may be holding that one family isn't what we think they are. Monsters from outer space or something. Different than us. Fifth columnists from the vast beyond. You know anybody that might fit that description around here on Maple Street?
What is this, a gag or something? This is a practical joke or something.
We see a close-up of a porch light that suddenly goes out. There's a murmur from the group.
Now it's supposed to incriminate me. The lights go on and off. That really does it, doesn't it? I just don't understand this. Look, you all know me. We lived here for 5 years. Right in this house. We're no different than the rest of you. This whole thing is just weird.
Well, if that's the case, Les Goodman, explain why.
Explain what?
Look, let's forget this.
Go ahead. Let her talk. What about it? Explain what?
So sometimes I go to bed late at night. A couple of times I had to come out of the porch and see Mr. Goodman here in the wee hours of the morning, standing out in front of the house, looking up at the sky. That's right, looking up at the sky, as if he were waiting for something.
At the end of this first act, we find Les Goodman frustrated and very angry at his neighbors for insinuating that he may be an alien from outer space, rather than a man with insomnia that has trouble getting to sleep many nights. He calls them sick, scared, frightened rabbits that are creating a nightmare scenario. Act 2 opens with little groups of neighbors gossiping in low voices outside Goodman's house. The power is still out, and candles can be seen burning through windows of many houses. Tommy's mother and Charlie are arguing.
Just doesn't seem right, though. Keeping watch on them. Why, he was right when he said he's one of our neighbors. I've known Ethel Goodman ever since they moved in. We've been good friends.
That don't prove a thing. Any guy who spend his time looking at the sky early in the morning, well, there's something wrong with that kind of person. There's something that ain't legitimate. Maybe under normal circumstances, we could let it go by. But these aren't normal circumstances. Why? Look at the street. Nothing but candles. Why? It's like going into the Dark Ages or something.
From several yards down, as Steve walks down the steps of his porch, walks down the street over to Les Goodman's house, and then stops at the foot of the steps. Goodman stands there, his wife behind him, very frightened.
Just stay right where you are, Steve. You don't want any trouble. This time when they step on my porch, they're going to get trouble.
Look, Les.
I always explain well to you people. I don't sleep well at night. I get up, I take a walk, and I look at the sky. I look at the stars.
That's exactly what he does. Why this whole thing? It's some kind of madness or something.
That's exactly what it is. Some kind of madness.
You best watch who you're seen with, Steve. Until we get this all straightened out. You ain't exactly above suspicion yourself.
Or you, Charlie, or any of us, it seems, from age 8 on up.
What I'd like to know is, what are we going to do? Just stand around here all night?
There's nothing else we can do. One of them will tip their hand. They got to.
There's something you can do, Charlie. You can go home and keep your mouth shut. You can quit strutting around like a self-appointed hanging judge and just climb into bed and forget it.
You sound real anxious to have that happen, Steve. I think we better keep our eye on you, too.
I think everything might as well just come out now. Your wife's done plenty of talking about how odd you are.
Go ahead. Tell us what she said.
Go ahead. What's my wife said? Let's get it all out. Let's pick out every idiosyncrasy of every single man, woman, and child on this street. And then we might as well set up some kind of kangaroo court. How about a firing squad at dawn, Charlie, so we can get rid of all the suspects, narrow them down, make it easier for you.
There's no need getting so upset, Steve. It's just that, well, Myra's talking about how there's been plenty of nights. You spend hours inside your basement, working on some kind of radio or something. Well, none of us ever seen that radio.
Go ahead, Steve. What kind of radio set you working on? I've never seen it. Neither has anyone else. Who do you talk to on that radio set? And who talks to you?
I'm surprised at you, Charlie. How come you're so dense all of a sudden? What? Who do I talk to? I talk to monsters from outer space. I talked to three-headed green men who fly over here in what looks like meteors.
Steve, please. It's just a ham radio set, that's all. I bought him a book on it myself. It's just a ham radio set. A lot of people have them. I can show it to you. It's right down in the basement.
Show them nothing. If they want to look inside our house, let them get a search warrant.
Look, buddy, you can't
Charlie,
afford it.
don't tell me what I can afford, and stop telling me who's dangerous and who isn't, and who's safe and who's a menace. All of you, and you're with them too. You're standing here all set to crucify, all set to find a scapegoat, all desperate to point some kind of finger at a neighbor. Well, now look, friends, the only thing that's going to happen is that we'll eat each other up alive.
That's not the only thing that can happen to us.
Cut to a long camera shot down the street. A figure has suddenly materialized in the gloom and in the silence. You can hear the clickety-clack of slow, measured footsteps on concrete as the figure walks slowly towards them. One of the women lets out a stifled cry. The young woman grabs her boy, as do a couple others.
People stand in the shadows watching. Looking into the darkness, they see an approaching figure. Don Martin joins them, carrying a shotgun. He holds it up.
We may need this.
A shotgun? What good would a shotgun do against...
No more talk, Steve. You're gonna talk us into a grave. You'd let whatever's out there walk right over us, wouldn't you? Well, some of us won't.
He swings the gun around to point it toward the sidewalk. The dark figure continues to walk toward them. The group there, fearful, apprehensive, mothers clutching children, men standing in front of wives. Charlie slowly raises the gun. As the figure gets closer and closer, he suddenly pulls the trigger. The sound of it explodes in the stillness. There is a long shot looking down at the figure, who suddenly lets out a cry, stumbles forward onto his knees, and then falls forward on his face. Don, Charlie, Steve race forward over to him. Steve is there first and turns the man over. Now the crowd gathers around them.
It's Pete Van Horn.
Pete Van Horn? He was just going to go over to the next block, see if the power was on.
You killed him, Charlie. You shot him dead.
But I didn't know who he was. I certainly didn't know who he was. He come walking out of the darkness. How am I supposed to know who he was? Steve, you know why I shot him. How am I supposed to know he wasn't a monster or something? We're all scared of the same thing. I was just trying to protect my home. That's all. Look, all of you, that's all I was trying to do. I didn't know it was somebody we knew. I didn't know.
Charlie, the lights just went on in your house. Why did the lights go on? What about it, Charlie? How come you're the only one with lights on?
That's what I like to know. You were so quick to kill, Charlie. You were so quick to tell us who we had to be careful of. Maybe you had to kill. Maybe Pete Van Horn there is trying to tell us something. Maybe he found out something, then came back to tell us who there was amongst us we should watch out for.
No, it's nothing of the sort. I don't know why the lights are on. I swear I don't. Somebody's pulling a gag or something.
A gag? A gag? Charlie, there's a dead man on the sidewalk and you killed him. Does this thing look like a gag to you?
No, please.
A man breaks away from the crowd that chased Charlie as the man tackles him and lands on top of him.
The other people started running towards them. Charlie is back up on his feet. Charlie breaks away from the man's grasp, lands a few desperate punches that push the man aside. Then he forces his way fight through the crowd to once again break free, jumps up on his front porch.
On the front porch is a rock thrown from the group that smashes the window alongside of him. The broken glass flying past him, a couple pieces cutting him.
He stands there perspiring, rumpled, blood running down from a cut on the cheek. His wife breaks away from the group to throw herself into his arms.
He buries his face against her. We can see the crowd converging on the porch now.
It must have been him.
He's the one.
We gotta get Charlie.
Look, I swear to you, it isn't me, but I do know who it is. I swear to you, I do know who it is. I know who the monster is. I know who it is that doesn't belong. I swear to you, I know. What are you waiting for?
Who is it, Charlie? Tell us.
It's...
Go ahead, Charlie. Tell us.
It's the kid. It's Tommy. He's the one.
There's a gasp in the crowd as we cut to a shot of Sally, holding her son Tommy. The boy at first doesn't understand, and then realizing all the eyes are on him, buries his face against his mother.
That's crazy. That's crazy. He's a little boy.
But he knew. He was the only one that knew. He told us all about it. How did he know? How could he have known?
How can he know?
Who told him?
Make the kid answer.
What about Goodsman's car?
It was Charlie who killed Old Man Van Horn.
But it was a kid here who knew what was going to happen all the time. He was the one that knew.
Are you all gone crazy?
A fist crashes at Steve's face, staggering him back out of shot. There are several close-up camera shots suggesting the coming of violence. A hand fires a rifle, a fist clenches, a hand grabs the hammer from Van Horn's body.
Charlie has to be the one. Where's my rifle?
This Goodman's the one. His car started.
Let's wreck it.
What about Steve's radio? He's the one that called them.
Smash the radio. Get a hammer. Give me something.
Stop!
Where's the kid? Let's get him.
Get Steve, get Charlie. They're working together.
The crowd starts to converge around the mother, who grabs the child and starts to run with him. The crowd starts to follow, at first walking fast, and then running after him. We see a full shot of the street as suddenly Charlie's lights go off and the lights in another house go on. They stay on for a moment. Then, from across the street, other lights go on and then off again.
It isn't the kid. It's Bob Weaver's house.
It isn't Bob Weaver's house. It's Don Martin's place.
I tell you, it's the kid.
It's Charlie. He's the one.
We move to a series of close-ups of various people as they shout, accuse, and scream, interspersing these shots with shots of houses as the lights go on and off. And then slowly in the middle of this nightmarish morass of sight and sound, the camera starts to pull away until once again we've reached the opening shot looking at the Maple Street sign from high above. The camera continues to move away until we dissolve to a shot looking toward a metal spacecraft, which sits shrouded in darkness. An open door throws out a beam of light from the illuminated interior. Two figures silhouetted against the bright lights appear. We get only a vague feeling of form, but nothing more explicit than that.
Understand the procedure now? Just stop a few of their machines and radios and telephones and lawnmowers, throw them in the darkness for a few hours, and then you just sit back and watch the pattern.
And this pattern is always the same?
With a few variations, they pick the most dangerous enemy they can find, and it's themselves. And all we need to do is sit back and watch.
Then I take it this place, this Maple place, is not unique?
By no means. The world is full of Maple Streets, and will go from one to the other, and let them destroy themselves. One to the other.
One to the other.
One to the other. One to the other.
The tools of conquest don't necessarily come with bombs and explosions and fallout. There are weapons that are simply thoughts, attitude, prejudices to be found only in the minds of men. For the record, prejudices can kill,
and suspicion can destroy. And a thoughtless, frightened search for a scapegoat has a fallout of its own for the children yet unborn. And the pity of it is that these things cannot be confined to the Twilight Zone. Hey, is this the casting agency?
You got it, sister. Lemon, Soul, and Sun.
Phew, I thought I'd missed my audition. I couldn't find the place.
You've never been here before? You must be pretty new to the industry.
Yeah, but I've got drive, talent, and a great set of scales. And I've heard Mr. Soul is pretty nice. Do you know?
For a guy named Soul, he's real sharp. Just watch where he puts his fins.
Holy mackerel, ain't it always the case? Well, I can handle the big fish.
You think you're gonna blind him with that fresh young beauty?
Let's just say I've hooked some pretty big ones in my day.
Well, good luck. But you can be sure Soul has had his share of fresh fish.
I'm sure he has, but he hasn't met Beatrix B. Fishington yet. By the way, that's me, B.
Charmed, I'm sure.
You may have heard of my family, the Massachusetts Fishingtons from Cape Cod.
I do recall some kind of scandal with the captain of a fishing smack out of hyenas.
My dorsal fin look all right? I just had it done.
Great, if you go for that look.
Pierre told me it's all the rage now.
You sure he wasn't just blowing bubbles?
He's one of the best in this part of the ocean, in case you haven't heard, and you might want to give him a call.
I've always used Lewis.
Oh, I hate to inform you, but that duo of yours went out with Shake and Bake for fish. Hey, where's the secretary?
Oh, she went out back to get smoked. One of those salmon, you know? What is that? Something smells fishy.
Oh, thank you. That's my new perfume, Pasca Fresca, from Italy.
Yeah, I know. Fresh fish. Real natural. Did you see this?
What, today's scaly variety?
Yeah, they're casting for the remake of the StarKist ad.
Oh, good. I'm sick of that working class tough fish thing. Real old school.
Old school? I worked with Charlie when he first developed that character. Sheer brilliance. And to think they're canning him.
Well, that's what happens to the best tuna, isn't it?
Not funny. That tuna is the salt of the sea. He deserves a Golden Flipper Award.
All I know is he got caught floundering around and they pulled his contract.
It was stupid. I think he felt all boxing professionally. It's tough living in a fishbowl like that.
Well, maybe, but if you want to make it in this business, you got to keep your tail clean.
You're young. You don't know the pressure. All those years of hard work and all anyone could remember was that stupid commercial.
You know what? You look familiar.
I don't know. I was mostly into print work.
Oh, yeah? Who'd you work for?
It's been a long time. You were just a young spawn then.
Well, maybe, but you still look familiar. What'd you do? Who'd you work for?
The Seuss organization.
You worked with Dr. Seuss. Get out of the door.
Yep, but who made him a doctor? I'll never know.
Oh, what'd you do? Green Eggs and Ham? Horton Hears a Who? I just love his stuff.
He should not be here. He should not be about. He should not be here when your mother is out.
OMG, OMG, the Cat in the Hat? I loved you in that. I used to make my pop read it over and over.
Well, thank you. I made that line sing. But who got all the press? The whiskered furball. And of course, Seuss. We did all the work and he got all the credit.
I'm so thrilled to meet you. What's your name?
Gilly Louise.
Well, hello, Gilly. As I said, my name's B. So tell me more. You must have millions of tales to tell.
Well, remember this fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish?
Of course. This fish had a little car. This fish had a little star. See how many fish there are? Oh, which one were you? I can't recall.
Go ahead. Guess.
You weren't driving that adorable car, were you?
I wish. I mean, a driving fish, that stupid Halibut made a career out of that. Pet store openings, children's parties. Everyone loves a fish with a car.
You weren't the one with the star, were you?
Wrong again. That conceited bass. And he wasn't even a starfish, which was the dumbest piece of casting I ever saw.
I give up. Which one? Tell!
Well, let's go through this again and see if we can figure it out.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. You weren't the red fish, and you're not right for the blue fish. Somehow I just don't think you were on the first page.
And so?
2 fish?
Yeah, I was one of page 2 fish. You don't remember me? I had a cute little profile shot with that orange roughy. I forgot her name.
You went from a starring role in The Cat in the Hat to that?
Well, yeah.
How could that happen? You were brilliant.
I don't know. I think I was too associated with that one role. Bossy Fish, the smart moralist. People wouldn't give me a chance to grow, do powerful drama, physical comedy.
Wow, that's harsh.
It's a harsh business, B. You might as well face it. You're young, your scales are still shiny, but life takes funny turns.
Thank you to the Lions, Elks, and other community advocates for your ongoing support of MSB. You make what we do possible. Go Mules!